Controlled Chaos with your hosts, Liz and Allie.
I'm Liz, the writer.
And I'm Allie, the publicist.
We are your quintessential 40-something besties who dive headfirst into all things pop culture.
Think motherhood, relationships, hot stories taking over your newsfeed, and of course, the latest gripping true crime mysteries.
This is Controlled Chaos, your much-needed weekly pop culture juice.
Drink up! Hey guys, this is Allie and Liz, and we're back with another episode of
Controlled Chaos.
Today's episode is one that Liz and I have been obsessing about, literally obsessing about. It has been going on actually for about a decade. However,
crazy.
It's really crazy.
We haven't been obsessing that long. We've only been obsessing like the past couple months.
No, not for 10 years for sure. But It did start making the rounds on TV crime shows, I would say like maybe a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, when everyone started getting convicted. Anyway, we'll keep you out of the suspense. We're talking about Dan Markel and the Adelson family. If this isn't ringing a bell, then I'm not sure how you got here, because we would imagine that you were
yeah, come on.
Markel.
What's going on with your algorithms?
Yeah.
But yeah, the gist of it is, as the Adelsons are this kind of upper middle class family in Miami, their daughter Wendi was married to Dan Markel, a prominent, FSU law professor. They had a picture perfect marriage. Everything looked to be going great. Had a nasty divorce. And then he was shot point blank dead in his garage. Find out later that it was by hitmen, and then we found out even later that the family was behind it. And now it's all starting to unravel like you wouldn't believe. The son, Charlie, was just sentenced this week, just 2 days ago, to life in prison. And there's stuff coming out even more about the mom, does Wendi, the ex-wife, know? That's all up in the air. But I mean, Allie and I were talking about how it takes 10 years to make sure you don't mess up a case like this up, because they needed to take their time to make sure they nailed this family, you guys. And this family needed to go down. Right? Am I right?
Well said. I mean, we were wondering, we're like, why? He got shot July 19th, 2014. It is nearly 2024. His poor family. But Fold, you're absolutely right. And this was actually good police work, in my opinion, is that listening. They've been listening. They've heard everything.
You know what? That's nice, because I do think sometimes there's shoddy police work and cases get messed up. And this was not the case. I mean, this sort of made me think, like, how many hitman cases are there out there where it doesn't go solved ever, or the real people behind it are never brought to justice? And this time it's really going down. I mean, you guys, the mom and the husband, Donna and Harvey, were on their way to Vietnam, one-way tickets, okay, to a country they can't be extradited back, one-way ticket, this like very white couple going to Vietnam without a return ticket, like, no. And she got busted there. And like you just told me, why don't you I didn't know that information, so fill it in about how that was.
So now in 2023, right, we're sitting here where Donna and Harvey's son Charlie, just like Fold said, is now going to be in jail for life, right? But we know that the whole family was behind this. So talk about just fucking dumbasses. And Donna Adelson, the mom,
above the law.
Above the law, right? And it's that narcissistic control. It's the whole family. And we'll get into that a little deeper about how these kids were raised. But there's an affidavit where the reason they actually picked her up at the airport was not because they had any evidence. Because by the way, this whole case is based on circumstantial evidence. This case is not based on any actual real DNA or evidence like that. That she was having jail calls from after Charlie Adelson's guilty verdict included multiple calls in which Donna Adelson is telling Charles Adelson that she is getting things in order, creating trust, and making sure her grandchildren are taken care of. Donna discusses plans for suicide, but also discusses plans to flee to a non-extradition country, meaning Vietnam.
All on recorded line, you guys.
Which is kind of funny. I'm contemplating suicide or fleeing the country. That just shows you right there, like, people who commit suicide are deeply like mentally disturbed, and they're having a lot of mental problems. She's just doing that because she didn't know another way out.
Because she just big fat did it. And they just never thought they would be ever. You guys have to look back in this case and see, like, Charlie he was just a cliche, right? Like, this just sort of like arrogant, pompous, get on my boats, drive my Ferrari, I'm the successful dentist with my dad, I can't be touched, I'm invincible. Sure. Here's the linchpin. Let me just tell you the linchpin. He was dating, or like sleeping with, this guy who was apparently a big player, sleeping with this girl, Catherine. Okay. Catherine's baby daddy was one of the hitmen. So there's the piece that pulls it together. That's how the Adelsons and the hitmen came together, okay? They put Catherine on payroll. That's how they're paying her, through the dentist payroll system, to like keep it on the books and legit. I mean, this family is just like off the reservation as far as like morals. There are no morals. They don't care.
Morals,
To
no
get what
morals.
they want, the theme of this family is they will do anything to get what they want. And what they wanted in this case, in case you didn't know, which is just really basic divorce stuff, after the nasty divorce, they wanted Wendi and the kids to be able to move back to Miami with them. That is truly the root of why they just lost their marbles, okay? They wanted to, and rightfully so. Dan Markel wants his kids to be where he lives, right? Where he's a professor. So you're like, no, Dan, we don't want that. Boom, you're dead. That's what happened. But the bigger long roots of it is like their just need for control. They are very weird and competitive, and it goes back really far. And I'm sure, well, you can speak a little bit about that. I mean, we can go further into that.
Yeah. And I think what's even crazier too is, yes, it did go from like, we want our whole family to be down there. And then the next thing we know, he's being shot. But she also, in emails, there's all these emails that they uncovered over the years where she basically said that they would be willing to pay Dan $1 million to let their kids and the wife relocate. He said no to that, which is also kind of crazy, but good for him, right?
And no, I agree. I would have said yes, but like, I don't. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, you guys. I'm not selling my children away. I just mean like that's still move to Miami, Dan. I don't know. Get a professor job at UM.
But
Like
the desperation, $1 million.
No, it's
The
true. Yeah. I
desperation,
mean, maybe he
right?
knew, but maybe he knew how crazy they were, which is why he didn't want to move near them.
I don't blame him one bit.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that they tried to do was then they were like, well, we're going to expose or convert the kids to some other, Catholicism or Christianity, because he was such like a hardcore
conservative Jew,
which goes back to also let's rewind a little bit to talk about the family, because how do you make how do you create a family unit with children that are capable as a unit to do something like this, and to think that this is something that is actually okay and that they can get away with it? Did they actually think they were going to get away with it? So let's rewind a little bit. Donna raised these children. She calls herself a domestic coordinator, which already that just screams, I'm better than a homeschooler. I'm better than all of you.
Oh,
in a way what's called domestic coordinator. It's like, ridiculous. So she homeschooled the kids. Let's just say it like that, which means full control, right? These kids love their parents, very close, but there was a third kid there. So there was Charlie, there was Rob, the oldest, and then there was Wendi. And Wendy's the one that married Dan, and this all ensued. Rob, all the family was raised Jewish. Rob ends up being with a woman that is not Jewish. Parents tell them that they will disown him, that they will not be a part of his life.
Kick him out of the family. Yeah.
They're such good parents that all it takes is a man telling his parents that he's fallen in love with another woman, and that she's not Jewish, and that's, oh, I disown you, sorry. So he then ends up marrying somebody that was Jewish for a hot minute, because I guess he was so conflicted, because any kid would be, right? No matter your age, your parents play a pivotal role.
They put their claws deep in these kids, which is obvious. They put their claws deep, and these kids wanted to please their parents.
Yep.
Yes.
So then he decides that, that's not the right thing for him. Lo and behold, ends up back with this. Thank God this woman took him back. And now he's married with kids, doesn't live anywhere near Florida, barely.
He's out of the family. I think this time his choice.
Yeah, for sure. And I think now seeing all this unravel,
I'm sure he's like, wow, really got that right. I mean, his parents are all.
I can't imagine he was that shocked as a son. Can you? Like, I
hope he's shocked. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you can know your family's crazy, but do you think they're capable of this? That's what we were talking about earlier, Fold. It's just like what people are capable of. We've talked about even like, we're both married with children now. We have young kids, and you could be in a very happy. You could be in an amicable marriage, and then divorce comes up, and people flip their shit. They completely do a 180 on you and become someone else. And they like threaten to take the kids, and all this stuff happens when someone's really threatened, and really like, how far will they go? Which has kind of been the case here, except with the Adelsons, even more. They just want to control truly everything.
I wonder too, like, had the divorce not gotten so nasty between Dan and Wendi, had that not been so nasty, maybe there would have been there would have been no murder. Like maybe that wouldn't have been.
I don't know. That's a really good point. And I don't even know really why it got so, we don't really know why it got so nasty, but that's kind of the point, right? You can be in this fine marriage, and we don't know how their marriage really was, who knows, but you could be in a decent marriage, and then just like, people, it really just, we've seen it a million times all over the place. It goes the other way with seemingly normal people. Not saying you have to be abnormal to have a nasty marriage, right? But just turn on a dime. People's emotions, and I think that's like what you need to understand with kind of everyone, but with the Adelsons, they turned. But I agree with you. We talked about this. I'm not sure this is like a snap with them. I think they really are this very like calculated,
Yeah. It was
like
just a moment
dark.
that was waiting. They just needed
Yeah, like
something
they're a
to like
very calculated, bad
so
kind of
yeah.
controlling family with bad intentions. If I'm being, I mean, like in my opinion, I don't think this is just like a one-off. Like, I mean, the murder obviously is, but they're bad news.
And, talking about that, we do know a little bit about their marriage, Dan and Wendi, based on like some interviews of their friends, interviews from, former, like, well, from his parents and just from other people that have been around them. And it seemed that their marriage was really lovely in the beginning on the outside, that they had this like really strong, passionate love for each other. But then as they got, more situated in Tallahassee, as they decided to get married, have children, from what it sounds like, Wendi had to take a little bit of a backseat as the mom. She couldn't pursue her career as an attorney and whatever else road she wanted to go down with that. It was really him who was the breadwinner, and he was the one that was really like, leading sort of, he was the type
He
A.
was in control, which the Adelsons don't like.
There you go. That. He was in control, and she kind of was stuck as like Susie homemaker at home. And I think that was starting to become a problem. Yeah. And we know that Wendi is not normal because also from a boyfriend that she had after she divorced Dan and all this, actually before this actually went down, the murder, but after they got divorced, even her ex-boyfriend now has come out saying that she just had this very adolescent way about her and very manipulative way about her. And she could just like put on an act and be like beautiful Wendi and just people pleaser. And then like behind closed doors, kind of be a different person. And we see that too in the way that she divorced Dan. He got home from a business trip, and that you're not a normal human being and that things have gotten so toxic when you have the ability to not only take half the furniture out of the home of your family and flee with your children, but leave divorce papers sitting on a bed for your husband to come home to. That's how she tells him. So you can
really unhinged.
How unhinged that they were. And there's some other signs that we don't have to go too deep.
And where she got that, you guys, she models Donna's, her mother's behavior so much. I mean, Donna is just someone from the outside wants to see that she's got this picture perfect life. Everything's in control. And
I think we even saw this if we look back at even their wedding. They had this picture perfect wedding in South Florida. And we all know from just the interviews we've listened to that Dan was raised kosher. He was raised as a conservative Jew, it sounds like. And the wedding needed to be kosher. And lo and behold, all these guests start arriving, the rabbi, everybody, the food's not kosher. Everything kind of like falls apart.
And they she pulled that like at the last minute without telling him, right?
We found out Donna, the mom, was in charge of catering.
Yeah.
So, and they're Jewish. Donna and the family, the Adelsons are Jewish. I mean, Adelson.
Yeah, it's weird. But I think it's again just to show that like we're gonna decide what's best here. Like even if they're like okay with like you said, they're both Jewish. Like, what do you care? But like they need to be the one to make decisions. I mean, and like to like little levels like that to the darkest levels you can think of. I mean, that's this family's prerogative. I mean,
it is. So, okay. So lo and behold, we've got this crazy murder case. We've got these hitmen. We've discovered the relationship of the hitman. Now, technology played a role in this case because back, let's say 3-4 years ago, when this case started coming out in the news, they'd only started making the arrests of the two hitmen. And then this woman, Catherine, who was sort of like the middleman and facilitated it all, right? But she was in it for the money. She didn't care about what was going on. She wanted money.
She was in it for the money. She was on the payroll, you guys. The dentist had her on the payroll. I don't know if I mentioned that already, but she's on the payroll. So it just was very like, don't play dumb. This whole family, you know who's on the payroll. You're not like, oh, what's Catherine do here? I mean, come on.
And she was driving around an old Lexus that was under Harvey's name. And okay, so you've got this mom, Donna, this husband, Harvey, you've got Wendi, and you've got Charlie. Okay. So right now we're at a stage where Charlie just got convicted a few months ago, and now he's in jail for life. Donna now, because of her dumbass tell-all on her jail call, tells her son that she wants to escape or commit suicide. They catch her at the airport. Makes no sense. Right, that she would be fleeing like that. Why? How guilty? That's also such a sign of guilt. Like
one-way ticket to Vietnam.
Ridiculous. And then the reason Charlie was finally arrested because Catherine and the two hitmen have been arrested for a few years now and in jail. So he just finally got put on trial and convicted because the technology got much better, and the recording that they had of him and Catherine at a restaurant talking about the details wasn't decipherable a few years ago, and now they were.
What happens in 10 years, guys? the technology.
I mean, we
And I think
see
that's really interesting to note. Like, these people, this family who never thought they were going to get caught in the first place. Like, just because you weren't caught in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, like these cases keep going. They're never really closed. So, and like
little
things
cases
have
are no
advanced.
longer cold.
Yeah, they're not. And it's like kind of like they probably were breathing this big sigh of relief. Like all this time's gone by, it's not going to happen. And then, I mentioned this to Fold earlier. I thought this was interesting too. So, Catherine, who we were talking about, the linchpin, when she was originally on trial, she was kind of just like saying that she had nothing to do with it, or like kind of trying to she was trying to make sure her I'm sorry, I don't know if they're actually married, but her baby
No,
daddy didn't go down, right? Like this is a father for kids, the hitman, one of the hitmen. So she's trying to protect him. And then later, after that all happens and they realize he's going to go down and she's going to go down too, they're like, you know what, work with us. What was really happening here? Who's really behind it? She finally spills the truth, which is Charlie, blah, blah, blah. But I was thinking, since she lied on the stand and committed perjury, is this going to hurt the case? Is Charlie, because Charlie's lawyer, like, took that and ran with it like he should have, right? Charlie's lawyer was like, she's lying now, blah blah blah. But she's basically said on the stand, like, no, I lied before to protect the father of my kids. But and it ended up obviously not working. Charlie went to jail. But I thought that was really, I wasn't sure where that was going to go. Like we knew that Catherine was lying the first time, but if you lie on the stand, that can be, kind of just that can be bad for
this. You up. No one's going to trust you from there on.
But the jury can really have a
right.
field day with that,
The other funny thing,
she came clean.
She came clean, and there was we assume she came clean, although because during Charlie's case, they were saying basically how they were trying to extort him for $1 million, and that's why Charlie was
that whole twist.
Yeah, which
that was Charlie's defense, which was so bad, actually.
Very creative,
but like I don't know, it seemed a little far fetched in my opinion.
I mean, I think it's far fetched that they offered Dan Markel $1 million.
That's true. This whole thing is so far fetched, and who knows what's real?
Who even knows what's real? But I think like the craziest part about all this is Wendy's still out there. She's still walking around, and I think she's one of the most dangerous of all because it sounds like she can just flip it on and flip it off, and she can be.
Sounds like she's like the puppet master a little bit. Like she called, was like, "I need this to happen," and
brother Charlie jumps in. Right, Charlie's in jail for life right now, and forever, and this didn't even have anything to do with him. He literally was just chilling, having a good life, banging girls in Miami.
He was just doing banging and boats and living the high. I know. He's probably really kicking himself for being so close to his sister. Although you remember that boyfriend said something that Charlie was always like. Charlie always said he was going to kill him. Again, control. He didn't like the control that he was losing. These guys have never done. Nothing's ever not gone their way. They don't like when they don't have any speed bumps or hurdles. This is a very like things go my way family. I mean, no empathy for others, and that's probably why he jumped in. He's like, oh, well, no one's going to tell my sister what she can't do, and look what it cost him by getting involved the way he did.
So a lot of people are saying, and there's been some articles written, even some people in support of Donna that have come out as her friend that have written like byline opinion articles in like the local Tallahassee papers, basically like calling out how messy the murder was. And if you think about it, so the two hitmen rented a car under their name. They're on all these surveillance cameras. They even like did something jacked up to the car and had to fix it. But anyway, there was completely easy evidence to find these guys right away. And then it was just trying to connect the dots. So that's messy to begin with. Now, we know Charlie was kind of trying to talk in code with like Donna and Catherine on phone calls and like using different names and aliases to like basically hide what they were trying to say. But at the end of the day, like, why are you even talking on the phone anyway? And then you think, oh, I'm going to go meet her, the same woman that's essentially being talked about by police right now and could go to jail. I'm going to go meet Catherine at a restaurant and talk to her. Why would you bridge that connection and show that you're not? And
that was very weird.
The paper trail.
It's like not that they wanted to get caught, but I mean, they just, again, I think they're above the law. Charlie is recorded saying like, oh, well, if they knew anything, I'd be out of here. Just like, oh, I can outsmart them. That's their emails that Donna used to send. Like, they won't get the best of the Adelsons. Like, it's just like, they know better. They're going to outsmart whoever it is. And I personally love when a family or anyone like that gets bit in the ass, right?
Oh, it's the best. It's revenge. But it's, you start thinking about like, how do people develop these types of behaviors? Like, why is Donna the way she is? Why are her kids the way she is? I mean, they're a product of
They're that way because of her, but where did hers root from? Her parents, I agree. It's like, where does it start? What are the origins? Where are the roots?
And narcissism usually stems from two different ways. One is that you are neglected, potentially abused growing up, and you end up having this like very controlling, I can do anything, I'm better than everyone. You kind of lack empathy. So that's one way. And then the other way,
because there's no empathy for you, or you were coddled.
Correct. Or you were coddled. That is number two. And in this case, her kids seemed like they were unbelievably coddled. They could do no wrong. right? They got everything
Very.
they wanted. And while they didn't grow up wealthy, it sounded like from some of the interviews I listened to, sometime around maybe their high school days, a tennis court was built in their backyard, and all of a sudden they were going on more vacations. So they built a family business up really well. And
They
it was
grew up not wealthy, but they didn't have like,
had means,
money
yeah,
issues,
no
like
money issues. But man, it sounds like from the interviews too that Donna was desperate for her daughter Wendy to get married, and she was the one that pushed her to go on J date, and she was the one that pushed her to go on the date.
It's just so funny. I mean, it's not like this girl, in my opinion, was gonna have any. I mean, she's a pretty girl, a lot going for her. I'm not sure like why, like she was gonna have no problems like with courtship, in my opinion. I mean, like everyone says she's outgoing and great, although we realized she was a little bit. There's a facade there, but from the outside, she seems like this very smart, great personality, fun-loving, pretty girl. So,
and a lot of times
why she was pushing her,
there's a money issue involved, meaning like maybe we see like a husband or a wife murder the other spouse because there's a life insurance plan. And by the way, I listened to something recently. There was a life insurance plan, and she is getting a nice hunk of money from that. I mean, depending on what happens, or
from Dan Markel's life insurance.
Correct. So I was unaware of that. I found that out early.
Interesting. But I don't think that was the motive.
No, but usually that is the motive in these types of cases,
Usually it's money. In this case, you're right. In this case, it's actually not. It is control and just like, you're not getting the best of us.
It's rare. I think that's why this case captivates so many people.
You're right.
Right?
Because you're saying this, because I kind of like, I'm all of a sudden like glass is shattering in my head. In most cases, it is about getting money or revenge.
Yeah.
And I don't even think this was like revenge even as much. Just like, you won't get the better of us.
Or
no matter what.
In the case of, remember that there was a doco, I think it was called the American Murder Next Door. Remember the man that murdered his pregnant wife and the 2 kids and horrifically
oh my god, and they put them in like those oil can. No, that was like,
but so his was motivated by, he felt trapped and he was in love with another woman. So that was,
but that's
money related. But I feel like those are kind of
that guy's got to be like a psychopath. Like the ability to do that, to kill your kids in the way he did, and like I mean, I honestly, I can't even say it out loud. It was so I don't want to get too off topic, but that is truly one of the most horrific cases I've ever heard. Like you have to have something dead in your soul to do that to like your own children.
It's another case too where no signs growing up. Like the Adelsons were community members. The kids never did anything real wacky. Maybe, like we were saying, Charlie was just like a player, kind of, typical Miami.
A lot of guys like Charlie in Miami are all over the country, all over the world. I mean, Charlie's like a dime a dozen, especially in South Florida. I mean, we can say that because Donna and I both live there. She's from there and I lived there for years. There's a ton of Charlies around, guys. I mean, a lot of Charlies.
I might have partied with Charlie. I have no idea.
Exactly. We partied with plenty of Charlies. I know Charlie. I know Charlie's type. Okay. But I did not know Charlie's type was capable of this. But like that, just like that ego of like, just nothing can touch me.
I mean, I might have been to Harvey Adelson for periodontist visit. I have no idea. I've lived here for so long. Like,
better check those fillings fold. Yeah, she's a native. She's a native. So Allie may have gone, who knows, you guys, she may have gone to this dentist. But the point is this was a very dark, twisted family, and they're getting bit in the ass. And I, for one, am happy about it.
We're very happy. So next up is Donna. She is now sitting in jail. She has gone through some various reviews internally to see if she's psychotic or having a psychotic break. And lo and behold, they've discovered she isn't psychotic. She's just a fucking bitch.
She's just like a problem.
She's just a problem. And so she's, complaining. I mean, the recent, the control and narcissism, the just lack of white privilege, I want to even say. It's like disgusting.
No, that's exactly what it is. I have to eat food with my hands. Like, look at what they're making. You're in jail. Okay.
You're in jail. I mean, it reminds me of like, I think that what was the one with Jeffrey Epstein? What was the woman's name? That was
the woman he was with for all those years.
She's doing the same stuff in jail right now. She's talking about
she lived like the life of luxury.
She did live a life.
Good. I hope these people have to eat moldy stuff forever.
I know, me too. At the very least, it's almost, and I don't even want like death penalty for these people. That's too easy, and I want them to be like harassed.
I feel the same way. Maybe that should be a topic for another podcast, because I mean it's definitely a different type of podcast. But I kind of feel the same way about the death penalty. In my opinion, getting off easy. Make them stay in jail and just like live an awful life, because that's worse. In my opinion, that's way worse than death.
I know, I agree. Especially those types of cases where someone was tortured. In this case, Dan was shot point blank. I mean, hopefully he wasn't, he didn't feel a lot of pain, and
No, I mean, he didn't, but it was still just like, come on, you get what you did it. You did this. You ruined a life. You ruined, I mean, these kids don't have a father. Wendy's children. I mean, the whole thing is just,
well,
so we're curious to see what's going to happen with Donna next, you guys. We don't really know yet. She's being held. She's not had her trial yet, but I think they're going to throw the book at her. That's what I think.
And then, I mean, it feels weird if Charlie was convicted for life, how she could not be. And then it's Harvey needs to follow suit. I mean, we know he's a part of it.
And then Wendi is the big question mark, guys. What are they going to do with Wendi? Is Wendi next? I mean,
you know what I'm saying with Wendi is already we know that she has claimed that her husband was her ex-husband, Dan, late husband, was emotionally abusive, controlling. She's thrown all sorts of horrific things toward him. And listen, maybe he was a little controlling and had, a temper or something like that. We, like you said earlier, we don't really know what went behind closed doors other than what we've heard in interviews and from their friends and family. But at the end of the day, she's going to get it. If she ends up going on trial and gets convicted, the stuff that her team is going to come up with against him, I feel so bad for his parents that they're going to have to sit through hearing just things.
So bad for these kids.
Are not going to be true. I know. And the kids are.
I mean, she goes to jail for her life. Kids are probably dad's murdered.
How old are they? Kids? They're got to be like 10 or something there.
Yeah, they're not. They're minors.
Yeah, they know what's going on.
I mean, old enough to know what's going on, but not old enough to live on their own. One of their dad's dead, and their mom right now she's okay, but who knows what's going to happen there? I mean, I feel really bad for them.
I predict
grandma's in jail.
I predict they're going to be in jail. These kids are going to have to either go to hopefully Dan's parents, which they became estranged from the kids because
they had no relationship with them.
By the way, and second this murder happened, the second Wendi was in a car with the kids, never came back to Tallahassee. She left.
Yeah.
Those poor parents of Dan Markel that literally had these two adorable sons or grandsons.
That's pretty obvious to me. It's kind of on the same as like Vietnam. She knew. I think it's going to be found out about her, you guys. I really think that she's next. But right now we know Charlie's got it going down. Donna's about to go down. And I think Wendy's next.
Did you know that Wendi also wrote a book during their, I think it was during still the divorce where she's
it's
like a fictional character based on her. And one of her claims and like of some of his friends' claims was that and I think this probably was part of the problem and what fueled her to think that going to murder or even offering $1 million was like a normal thing to do because she felt so stifled by him. She felt like she couldn't, he didn't even want to read her book. Apparently he never even looked at it because he thought that it was just so below him. He doesn't sound like he's the nicest guy, but come on.
I mean, he doesn't
murder somebody.
But did he deserve this outcome? I mean,
nobody does.
I think so.
Nope.
Yeah.
Unless you killed someone, then I say.
Yeah, I don't think he sounded like, I mean, I'm not saying I'm a huge Dan Markel fan, but I don't think this outcome was bad. And I just think this family just needs to go down and it's happening. So
bring down Adelsons. That's what we want to see.
Yes. We'll see what happens next.
We know there's going to be some sort of movie on this, in years to come, and many, many more documentaries. If not, I don't even think there's been a documentary yet, which I can't wait to learn about Donna's upbringing, who she was.
Yeah, I'd like to know more about her background, right? What made her that way, and I'm very interested.
I want to hear about Rob too, and I want to hear more from him.
Oh yeah, Rob.
Why was he the lucky egg that was?
Rob wants to stay far away from this.
Why was he the egg that knew to go, that this wasn't the right family, that something was off?
I don't know, but I think I would love to learn more about Rob.
And then Harvey, just silent one, right? Harvey, nobody talks about Harvey, the husband who's the Lexus's car is under her that Catherine's driving around.
Yeah, Harvey's going to be outed too.
His company's
paying on Harvey's payroll.
Yeah, has to.
It's all going down.
So guys, this was our little conversation around the Adelson and the Dan Markel murder. It's just a fascinating, horrific, twisted tale of deception and murder. We're going to see tons of movies. Who's going to play Wendi? Who's going to play Donna? We're going to find out all sorts of crazy things. I know Fold and I both hope that Wendi gets convicted because she deserves it. There's no way she didn't know about this. Give me a break.
I think
that family was so close knit. There's just no way.
They all know. Yeah.
And
but next week maybe we'll switch topics and to give you something a little lighter. We like to mix it up, but we
do. But I will say there's two cases we do need to attack at some point. One is the Gabby Petito case.
Oh, my favorite.
And another one is because he came out just a few weeks ago saying he finally did it, was the Joran Vandersloot and Natalie Holloway.
Oh, I
don't know if you remember, Fold. That murder happened when we were working together in my very first job out of college.
20 years ago.
Yeah. And
I
no
don't
one
want to
wants
age
to go to
us like that.
Aruba. I know. So
Oh, that
he
kid. Yeah, there's
just
a lot to unpack.
finally admitted the truth after all these years. And talk about a family that fought for their daughter and went out on
Oh,
every
that whole
cause.
thing is so terrifying and sad.
Terrifying.
Yeah,
But we
so
will
maybe
lighten
those
it
will
up.
be next, but we'll keep you guys on your toes with our topics, and we really appreciate you listening.
Yeah, we appreciate you and thank you for being here. And we'll see you on the next episode of
Control Chaos.